Right, so we looked at the set, at the article. Now I want to zero in on this, the expansion slot. So there's a bit more to dissect here than what I initially read into, right? So for starters, okay, we have these three different segments of cards occupying the expansion slot. Cards that expand the story within the wider world of Wraith, so lore-centric cards, if you will, expand the tournament card pool of classes and or talents outside the core focus of the product. So this means new cards that, again, do that, so expand the tournament. So they don't necessarily have to be lore-centric cards, but cards that, might be a specialization for X hero to sort of give them a slight power boost when they haven't been focused or touched in core products for a little bit. And then the third is reprints. Serve as an avenue to reprint key cards such as the Ferendale Spring Tunic, which as outright stated as being part of this Bright Lights expansion slot, right? So what does this mean? Well, to me, what I personally would like to see from the expansion slot is different versions of the cards, right? I don't want a white border version. I don't want a token version. I don't want a cheap gimmicky version just to have out there. That's at a 1 in 15 pack rate plus stack on whatever the rates within the actual expansion slot is, right? Because they don't, or shouldn't, I should say, overshadow the history product. Okay, the history product was designed with one set purpose in mind, and we're already leading into History Pack 2, which will come out next year, so they need to not infringe on one another. Okay, the History Pack. History Pack 1 contains several sought-after reprints of chase cards from previous sets that still see regular play today, such as Command & Conquer, Line Strike, Art of War, Ferendale Spring Tunic, Mask of Momentum, Storm Striders, and more, right? So why would you have the expansion slots impede on these being the accessible versions? No, so personally, again, what I would like to see is a different version, okay? Where it sits in terms of the cold foil reprint policy, I don't know, right? If just changing the art means you can print in cold foil, heck, I would just take a non-foil alternative art tunic, something like that, right? Mechanize it, give it some sort of imagery that fits the set you're pulling it from. Don't make it like the list slot where you get a card that doesn't really fit the theme. So for instance, expand the story within the wider world of Wraith, right? Check-ins for X hero is what I'd like to see, okay? So again, these cards don't have to fit the theme, but they are essentially parallel in terms of a timing sake, right? So for instance, everyone featured in this set is part of Metrix, right? Inside the city. Okay, we're using these cards to check in on the heroes that aren't here, which from the looks of it is everyone, right? Maybe not the heroes at Seoul, right, participating in the war, but to give us some depth and sort of a time frame of, well, guess what? This is where Ira's been for this little segment of time, right? Those check-ins. The tournament cards, the card pools, the expansion, well, they can basically be anything, but then these reprints, right? I would like to see cards reprinted in variations that match the theme of the set, right? So we get a Ferendale Spring Tunic. It's still called Ferendale Spring Tunic, but, it's been tinkered with. Someone here at Metrix has gone a hand of it and, is messing about, right? So the art reflects the set you find them in. That way they're a bit more niche, right? They're not just reprints for the sake of reprints. They are reprints that actually can have some value. They don't have to be cold foil again. They don't have to be marbles. They don't have to be rainbow foil, but just alternative art. Okay, again, they don't infringe or impede or compete with the history pack and it being this medium to deliver accessible cards, right? But at the same time, you still have a new variant that you're a bit interested in, right? You still want the OG, you still want the original cold foil, right? That's the pinnacle, but these are still something else you can seek, right? They don't have to be worthless and they don't just have to be reprints for the sake of reprints, because that's the job of the history pack, right? So I don't want that to be what we get out of the expansion slot, right? Just cards that are printed for the sake of printing because they want to settle on a core theme for each set from now on, right? They want to visit just a handful, even dwindle it more than Outsiders where we only got 3 heroes or something like that, right? Because from all intents and purposes, to make the crack shuffle play work, this set has to be heavily themed in Mechanologist. Again, the only thing that works for me is combo cards. So I don't want these cards just to be tacked on for the sake of being tacked on. I want them to actually fit and have purpose within the set. So again, lore cards, right? Cards that expand the story. Service check-ins for other heroes, so you can see what they're up to. The tournament card pools, this you probably have the most leeway. Yeah, you just print a card that's necessary. But just because the effect is necessary doesn't mean you can't theme the design or the art, again, to match the set you're finding it in. And then especially for the reprints, right? Don't give me a token version. Don't just give me a white border version so that the population is increased. Give me a mech-themed spring tunic, right? Just little dials or doodads or LEDs or something to reflect where we've found it, right? We found it in Metrix. Let it be a mechanologist themed spring tunic. Again, not a mechanologist card, but a spring tunic that looks like it's been altered by someone here in Metrix, right? For any card they reprint. Now, I'm also curious, right? It just said key cards, so I assume this includes, desired majestics, like as in the history pack, Art of War, Inline Strike, Command and Conquer. But again, Command and Conquer, similar to Dynasty. Give me a mechanologist one. Give me someone commanding a army of robots, something like that, Inline Strike, right? A superconductor, something just themed around the set you find them in. Give some flavor to them rather than just recycling art, right? We don't want it to go down the route of MTG, do we? Where we have, we now have 6 versions of the spring tunic, and the only thing changed across all of them is the border. No. Key art. Give me key art, please. I'm hoping, and fingers crossed, right? Give me something new, something exciting, not just the list. Do the list, but make it so much better, Legend Story Studios, right? You can do it. You have shown that you really care about striving for the next thing, the next step, right? Just one up MTG. Give me the list slot, but again, give me something dynamic, something interesting, something exciting, not just reprints for the sake of reprints. If it is just reprints for the sake of reprints, then get rid of the history product, right? History Pack 2, I already have my high doubts. Yes, the alternative language versions are necessary, but the English version, right? Do we need more Monarch? Do we need more Everfest, more Tales cards? No, right? We don't. The normal variants are already cheap. This is not a solution, right? Bright lights for those cards, sure. Yeah, right? But still, I believe that they will go above and beyond, right? I believe that they will see, right, what has been thought of and accepted and discussed in terms of how other card games have done this idea, and they will make it their own, right? It's an expansion slot. I'm curious about this, right? Because this definitely sounds mech related, but if this is just what they're calling it altogether, I mean, yeah, it's obviously makes sense for these two because they directly have expand in it. But just again, don't give me reprints for the sake of reprints, right? Just don't tack on cards because the price point is hurting people. Give me something of substance, right? Please. I'm pretty sure it's not listed in the card pool, right? How many cards they have set aside. So it will be mysterious, like the list. And, well, I doubt they will probably announce it. Well, they might announce it, I suppose. I mean, the reprint cards would be the thing you'd want to announce, right? So that, again, it does have its effect on the secondary market. The story stuff, right, that could be fun to be a mystery. Again, it would also be weird to me, right, if we have these 3 different cards. And these 3 different cards have 3 different versions, so to speak, right? So, for instance, if they go down, just another white border reprint for these reprints, right? And then we have these cards, which are just the normal stock standard. If it's a warrior card, it's going to have the sword border and whatnot, right? And then we have these lore-esque cards that have a new frame or a new imagery or something like that, right? That would be kind of weird, right? We have this expansion slot, and then of that, you have 3 different card pools essentially that you're pulling from. That wouldn't mesh well to me, right? It would be kind of jarring, again, to find those cards, especially then if, for all intents and purposes, they aren't, chase cards, right? So 1 in 15, split across these 3 different segments, so roughly 1 in 45, technically, right, to cycle through all of them. That would be weird, right? A card that rare, so a card rarer than a base cold foil, a generic cold foil, a rare cold foil, right? But then to just be this normalized card that is just included, again, for the sake of inclusion, more so than, stylizing it to match the product it's a part of, right? That's what I'd like to see. That's what would make me happy and make me comfortable with, again, stepping on the toes of the history pack products. I don't know, what do you think? Do you just want stock standard cards for the sake of growth and necessity, right? Or should we leave that to the history pack, since that is the whole reason it was created and the reason we still get them and the reason they're not out of print? Or would you like to see something themed, right? Something that actually is stylized in whatever set it's included, so that they don't stick out, right? They actually feel nice. They feel like some sort of chase to actually get yourself a mechanologist themed spring tunic over just another whiteboard or even token variant, right? Because I think that's what I heard floating was just token reprints, which is kind of weird in itself, right? We're just going to devalue the card by sticking something on the back. I don't know if that'd be enough, because it's still 1 in 15, so it's still rare. It would be a rare token. I guess it is the sort of like next downgrade from whiteboarder, maybe. So, interested in this, right? Interested in the overall card pool. Again, at 1 in 15, they can't have too many cards. Otherwise, they'd be so difficult to find. And if they are meant to expand, the tournament card pool and therefore be functional, they need to be accessible, right? So the card pool can't be that great at 1 in 15. And then, curious to see what they do with the story cards, right? Yeah, it seems like this would be a great just chase element. I think decks and draft. I always go to say draught. Right. Carlton draught. Draft. Do you say draught? Anyway, off topic, right? He was floating the idea of expansion cards, right? Cards that don't necessarily serve a purpose. They just look pretty and are chaseable. I think, again, expansion slot being overall more chaseable than just reprinting for the sake of reprinting would have a nicer feel to it. I mean, we get that in the top end of the list in MTG. But overall, right, if they could maintain that power level, that'd be nice. Right? Especially because there is no salvaging common and rare cold forms at the moment, right? Unless we see some upscaling in power or utility. It feels bad to have a $2 cold form, in all honesty, in a box. I don't want to see, your one list card be that unless you get the high value reprints. Interesting. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, right? Again, overall for me, leave the job of the history pack to the history pack. That's why you created it, right? Unless you're going to scrap it completely, don't step on its toes. HP1 isn't out of print, right? So there's still more spring tunics entering the world every day being born. Be interesting.